traps to avoid in teenage years. Number 8, as long as I have a job and as long as I have a car, that's all I want in life. Whew. I mean, those people, do you remember the car that you first had when you first got married? I kind of remember it. It rusted out and water came up through it, and that's about all I know about it. I mean, you don't even remember. And that job, I mean, it wouldn't take care of you. If you got married, it wouldn't buy handbags. For a boy, it wouldn't buy handbags for his wife. You know, the kinds of jobs you can get by not going ahead and doing something special and getting some skill. Number 9, trap to avoid in teenage years. What I do isn't anyone else's business, so bug off. What I do is everyone else's business. Because we are each other's brothers and sisters in Christ, and we are a part of the body of Christ, and it matters a lot what I do and what anyone else does. Number 10, I do not want to be seen with anybody but my crowd. They're so afraid if somebody's a different color, a different IQ, a different, they wear different clothes, or if they don't wear the same kind of socks they wear. I mean, they don't want to be. They call up each other to see. You know, and because they're so insecure, it comes down to insecurity. And we need so badly to give them, I have down here, a self-esteem packet. Build self-esteem in them, that they're the child of the King. Susie, come up. Honey, will you please? A lot of teenagers, thank God not our teenagers at the college, but a lot of teenagers wouldn't want to be seen with Susie. And Susie's one of the sharpest kids I've ever been around. She doesn't have to have all her stuff to tell her Bible stories. Come here, hon. Okay, I want to ask you, is it too early in the morning to ask you some Bible stories?
No, ma'am.
Okay, Ruth.
There was a woman, her name was Naomi, and she had 2 sons and a husband, and the sons had a wife, and one day the husband died, and then the 2 sons, they died, and the woman was left alone with her 2 daughters-in-law. One of them's name was Arthur, the other one's name was Ruth. The woman's name was Naomi. And she decided to go back to her homeland. And she wanted her daughters-in-law to go back to their homeland. Arthur decided to go back to her homeland, but Ruth wanted to go with Naomi. So Ruth told Naomi that she would go with her, that wherever she lived, she would live. So Naomi and Ruth went back to Naomi's homeland, and Ruth was reaping in the field one day. And she was there, and a man named Boaz came up to her and asked her who she was, and she told him about her mother-in-law. And he said, she's hid to me. And so they were seeing each other every day. Finally, one day they fell in love with each other, and they decided to get married. And they had a baby boy, and his name was Obed. So Ruth and Naomi were married, and they had a child.
Hosea.
There was a man whose name was Hosea. He had a wife whose name was Gomer, and they had 3 children, Jezreel, Zerubbabel, and Loami. One day, Gomer went in the sin, and Hosea tried everything he could to get Gomer to come back to him, but she wouldn't. He even tried to get the children to get her to come back. And so one day he went out for an auction, and he saw this woman being auctioned off. He looked, and he said, "That's no slave woman, that's my wife." much younger. So he went up to the auctioneer and he bought her back. Now, Gomer pictures Israel, and Hosea pictures God. That pictures Israel coming back to God.
Thank you, Susie. She may go back. I want to tell you that if I had time, I could go 150 stories. How many, Susie? How many stories would I call before you couldn't give one, do you think? 150, 200? 200 stories, maybe, because I've done a lot of them. We've gone out to eat sometimes when she's come to visit, and I sit and I just try to stump her. I'm just trying, and she can get every one of them. And when I sit with her and she sings, and she makes me so mad, I don't even have to open the book for her. She doesn't have to open the book. She knows every hymn, all the things, and she just opens it just to humor me so I can sing along with her. You know, and some people, some teenagers wouldn't be seen with her. People, they've got to have teaching. They've got to get a sense of security. They've got to realize what there is in every person. Little Phyllis used to be here. She's 34 inches tall, or used to be. Now she's with the church in Temperance, Michigan, Brother Les Hobba's church. And she, just recently, a man named Dr. Kopitz came from Johns Hopkins, or that's where he knew Phyllis, in Maryland, came and stayed in her humble home overnight on a weekend to help her because she thought she was dying, or had been led to believe she was dying and paralyzed. And Dr. Kopitz, who has been in Reader's Digest, Family Circle, different, he's the doctor of little people. He saw how little people weren't being helped, and he began to start helping them. And do you know what? When Mary Purdom was there visiting, and she asked Dr. Kopitz, are any doctors learning how to doctor little people? And he said, I've had them with me, but they don't stay very long because a doctor is judged by his clientele, and they say I'm a weirdo. I'm an oddball treating weirdos. But he said, little Phyllis has been more spiritual help to me than any other person that I've ever known. People, we don't, I mean, there's no person, God didn't make an accident. We're all made for some particular reason, and some very special reason. Mom doesn't want to listen to me. Mom wants to listen to you, but she doesn't know how. If we'll just give each other the benefit of the doubt. If the teenager would say, Mom, let's go out. Some of you girls will go home this Christmas, and Mom will be so busy doing for you that she won't have time for you, just you. She's too busy getting the meals for you, taking care of your clothes and everything like that. Take her away from the business of the hour. Say, come on, let's go to lunch. So that she'll just talk to you. The old people don't like us. That's a trap that they're taught. And in some cases it's true, I'm sorry to say. But we've got to help them get to the older people. My folks or church don't want me to do anything. We want them to do everything. Everything that's good and wholesome and happy and will lead to a happy life for them. Watching wrong things and listening to music or smoking or drinking just once will not hurt me. And of course, those are the traps to avoid in teenage years. I've got traps to avoid with teenagers, and I won't take time to give it. And then let's hear it for the teenagers. People, have you ever thought of this? A lot of teenagers are they are the ones who, as far as in fundamentalism, have it the hardest considering our standards. Now, people, we tell them not to listen to rock music. Now, rock music's no problem for me. I didn't grow up with it. Now, some of you who are in your 30s, it is some problem to you. But you have so many other things to do that it's not quite the problem that it is for a teenager. Who does fundamentalism, who do the standards of fundamentalism hit the hardest? TV. Most of us, hopefully, are too busy to be watching TV very much, and I didn't even grow up with it. It's no temptation to me. The first TV I saw, I was 15, and you could hardly see it. It wasn't clear or anything else. You know, so it was no problem for me. Movies. Who gets hit the hardest? Dating. People, most of us who are married are not out dating. You're not even dating your husband, let alone dating anybody else. And so it doesn't hit you the hardest, but you have the dating standards. And who does it hit the hardest? The teenagers. I tell you, these teenagers who are in our fundamental churches, and we have hundreds and hundreds, and don't act like that these standards will push them away. Oh, some of them for a while, but they come back, and in most churches, they're gone, period, anyway. I mean, they admire, they want something hard to live up to, but we've got to help them. We've got to be behind them. We've got to say, hey, I know it's hard. Instead of acting like, well, what's the matter with you? You know, and run, jump, go home and say, let's. Now, some people in a teenage group, they'll have a rock burning party and burn the rock records. That's different. But to go home, take all their music and burn it and not, you know, they have nothing to say about it. I mean, it's hard for them. Just as it would be for you to change your life overnight. Dancing. Most of us are too tired to dance. I mean, if you ever did dance and you ever liked it, you're too tired by the time you get through the day with the kids, you know. But teenagers, they get hit on it. Alcohol, tobacco, they're being asked drugs. They're being asked all the time in their schools. And thank God in the Christian schools it's not as bad, and if it's found, it'll be put out. But it is there. It will. Christian schools aren't perfect because our kids are there. Mixed swimming. Most of it, you know, going out, men and women in, you know, bathing suits, you know, and they come down and, you know, you get all wet, and then they come down to about here. You know, and then you stand and talk to each other, and then people say it doesn't bother anybody. If it doesn't bother anybody, it's a pretty sick situation. Of course it bothers people. And all of those things have to do with our kids. They're hitting puberty, and we don't give them we don't talk with them. If we talk, we give them one talk. Okay, kids, sit down. I'm going to tell you everything right now. Here's what you don't do. Here's what you do, and here's how you'll feel, and here's the stuff for it. Go. You know. Here, there's a closet where you can find something. And this is an everyday, constantly working with them and talking with them and enjoying them and telling them that you'll pay a price. And you're somebody special if you're a fundamental teenager. Instead of acting like, oh, if you don't do this, you're just a terrible person. Instead, because you do this, you're a very, very special person. They need a lot of talk. They need a lot of listening, too. They need a lot of fun. They need a lot of replacement. Our whole high school this year, now not everybody can do it, but a lot of you could with your smaller high schools, maybe easier than this high school could. Our whole high school went to camp for a week, and they had school at a camp. And they came back they gave them so much. So much can be put into getting them away and having them 5 days and 5 evenings. That it was just unbelievable what the teenagers came back with. And so a lot is given to them. It's not just taking away, but it's putting in. And they need a lot of love. People, if they don't talk, they'll spill over in a wrong way. For 2 years, they take, and they never get to talk to you. So finally, they spew out some stuff, and you say, don't you sass like that, quit that right now, which you should. But let them talk. Let them learn to tell you what's going on. They say something like, you know what so-and-so told me at school, and it's something bad. And you go, oh, don't you ever say that again. You know, but it is what so-and-so said at school, folks. You know, and you do need to know what they're hearing. And you do need to sit there and listen to them and talk. And, well, how did you feel about that? And you might find that they felt terrible. But you don't even give them a chance. You just, we don't listen to them. Let them know that they won't seem the same as they get older. You know what we say when they get about 12 or 13? We say, you're not the same girl you used to be. Well, honey, no, they ain't. They're not the same. You're not the same girl you used to be now that you're 44 either. I mean, they've got hormones that are going crazy. You know, and we say, you used to do this just in the last year, and I think it's because of those kids you run around with. And it might be or it might not be. I don't know. But, you know, to help them know before they even feel these changes that they will feel these changes. And that they're going to get, you know, different little things are going to happen. You know, the first time somebody gets a couple hairs under their arm, they go, you know, they don't know. They think they're going to be a gorilla or something. Because no one's ever talked with them, you know. And really explained anything to them. Just, you know, just one big talk. Oh, boy, this is the talk. You remember when you've heard the story, I think Mrs. McKinney tells it, when the kid came in and said, Mama, where do babies come from? They went, oh boy, this is the big one. Like Sanford and Son. You've never watched him, have you? Well, you're bad, I'll tell you that, because he's bad. But people have told me that Sanford always goes, this is the big one. This is the big one, And so this was the big one, Where do babies come from? She sat him down and told him the whole story of where babies. He said, I just wanted to know because Susie or whoever came from Nebraska. Where did I come from? Where do babies come from? They just want to know what state. Usually when you do it just all in one fell swoop, you do it with something in some way like that. Let them know that they won't seem the same as they get older. Peer pressure and spouse pressure. Let them know. But is it wonderful? People, I'm here to tell you. I love it when spouse pressure comes on them. They were under peer pressure, and then all of a sudden they've got a spouse who wants everything right down the line straight. My kids both married somebody who wants it all straight down the line, so fundamentalism, or, this, that, and the other, and so now it's what their spouse wants, and my son, I have to tell about him, he's in Germany. He never let me talk about him when he was here. What could he do about it? I don't know whether guns can come from there or not. When my dad and mom got married January 1st, we had family goings on for the whole week before. I mean, every night we said, it's family night, it's family night. It's family night this night because we got to do this. It's family night that night because we got to do this. It was just family night for every night. And so my son was living in Adrian, Michigan at Cox's church, and so he was wanting to see a couple friends or something. And the night my dad and mom got married, we were going to go have an afterglow at my sister's house, Dora Smith, and have an we like to go have an afterglow about everything. What'd you like about this? What'd you like about that? Wasn't this wonderful? We just like to sit around and brag on ourselves. And so we were going to go have a brag session on ourselves, and David was going to go see his friends finally after the wedding was over. The last night he had before he had to leave. And Kathy Vay Evans just got so sweetly serious. Just, if you see the pictures of the wedding, you think she was hating it because Grandpa was getting married. I mean, she wasn't mean, just... And David came out and said something about wanting to go see a friend. I said, oh, fine, David, that's why. He says, it's not you, Mom, it's her. And before I knew it, they both came over to the house for the night, and they were with us. He was the star of the show. It is really nice to have spouse. It will turn from peer pressure to spouse pressure, hopefully for you too. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Where is this time? Going for me anyway. I have scriptures I wanted to give you, and where are they? Can you help me find them? Right here, this little big book. And this little big book. And what else can I say except I would like for you to think about getting the self-esteem packet. Building self-esteem. 5 tapes for $15. And a lot of times, because our kids don't have, now I don't mean thinking, aren't I something? I mean, isn't it something that God would choose to work through me? Isn't God wonderful to have made me? Mrs. Howes was talking about I feel precious to God. And 10 years ago, when the Lord was working on her about that situation, we were down in Dallas, Texas at a jubilee. Mrs. Rice, maybe you were there. I believe you were, Dr. Viola. I don't know. But after it was one of the first ones, and I was there too. And after the whole thing, they were going to put pictures up of people and give a statement that they had said of all the speakers that had been there. And here flashed Mrs. Howe's picture, and it said, I am fearfully and